Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Learn with Jason. Apparently, I got my DJ voice on today. So I am excited to be doing another solo episode. We've got a lot of fun stuff coming up on the show. Had a little schedule reshuffling, and that ended up with me doing this one on my lonesome, which is actually kind of a blessing in disguise because the last time we did a solo, I was playing with a multi-screen idea for what a real-time talk would look like. Like, what would it look like if I had a presentation going and then you could have a second screen and interact with that in a way that would lead to something happening on the main presentation, right? So kind of live polling or live reactions, things kind of like what we do with the stream here. The stream is actually a second screen experience. You interact with the chat window, and the second screen, the overlay for my stream, is responding to that. So we just saw some boops drop. Like, love that. So I want to try to build. Is Blender still running? No, Blender's not still running. Also, how fun was that episode? Did y'all have fun with Prince? I any chance I get to hang out with Prince is a great opportunity. But so like I said, the overlay on this stream, what you're looking at, all the framing around me here is this is all a website. It's a web page, right? And that has a real-time API, whatever, like it's got a reactive layer on it. And whenever events happen, like subscriptions or using a certain emote in the chat or running a command or any of those things, all of that leads to stuff happening. You get overlays, you get the boops dropping. If you use enough of the party corgis, you get a corgi stampede. All of those things are fun ways for people to interact with the stream. So then how can we take this further? How can we move this type of second screen experience into different environments? And this is an idea that I've had because we're starting to get back to in-person conferences, and I love speaking in front of people. It's really fun for me to get up on stage and have a conversation with folks, but I'm realizing that, I miss the interactivity of Twitch when I'm not on Twitch. I really wish that there was a way for there to be input from the audience while we're speaking. And I think that it gets a little too chaotic to do call and response. It can be off-putting to introverts. Nobody wants to yell if they're an introvert. And not everybody wants to put their hand up. Nobody wants to get called on stage usually. So you find yourself in this situation where like, okay, well, how do people participate without just prioritizing folks who don't mind being big and loud? And I think the answer really becomes like, how do we make your phone into a second screen, or your laptop, or whatever your device you're using, into a second screen that'll allow you to participate by pushing buttons. So you get to be part of it, you get to influence the talk, but you're not required to like really put yourself center stage. You can participate without being perceived, and I know that for a lot of folks it is important not to be perceived. So this to me is a really interesting opportunity to build out better interactivity into real world spaces. How do we make a conference talk more interactive? How could we make even internally, like, could we make internal AMA sessions with the CEO or our other leadership? Like, could those be more interactive without requiring people to, grab the mic and ask a question? Those are the sorts of things that I'm interested in. And I was having a conversation at Render ATL, which was a really fun event. I was talking to James Q Quick and a handful of other folks about what would those second screen experiences look like. And so we had an idea that it would be kind of funny if you think about how the Nielsen rating system works, or how like focus groups in like TV shows and other types of media, they will have people watch the show and they have a device in front of them. And as they're watching the show, if they are feeling good about what they're watching, they turn it to the right. And that indicates like, I'm enjoying myself. This is fun. And if they're not, then they turn it to the left. And it's a kind of a dial. So in this case, they do it by kind of setting an extreme, like, ooh, I hate that. They crank it all the way to the left, right? And oh, I love that. They crank it all the way to the right. But if they're just saying like, oh, this is boring, right? They crank it a little bit to the left. I would like to get there. I think it would be fun to get that level of nuance, but I think for right now, there's just kind of a general reaction. Like if I make a claim, can people say I feel good or bad about that claim? Like I gave a talk recently where my clickbaity setup for the whole talk is full stack developers don't exist. And then I spend the rest of the talk explaining how full stack developers exist. But what I'm interested in is like, can you do something where the audience can say, you like, oh, you just made me angry with that. I want to disagree with you. And you know, that's the sort of thing that I think is really fun. Learn with Jason Discord. I don't know. So the thing about a Discord is that I feel weird making a space that's like predicated on me. I don't know. This is an interesting like relationship with attention, right? Like I feel, let's get philosophical, chat. You know, you thought we were going to see a rabbit hole on CSS. This time we're going to rabbit hole on humanity. So I have this sort of, I like the idea of creating community, and I like the idea of building a collective of people who are working to improve themselves and learn more and things like that. And I love the general concept of groups of people coming together around common interests. That's what makes me love the web dev community. It's why I'm part of the communities that I'm a part of. Where I get squeamish is when it becomes a leader follower dynamic, because it's a short hop from leader follower to cult. And I've seen this happen a lot in even in the development community, where someone kind of emerges as a thought leader, and before too long, and chat, I swear to God, if you start dropping names, I'm going to be upset. So please don't do that. But if you find yourself in these situations where people kind of emerge as leaders, and then you see groups form around them that kind of take everything they say as a fact. And what I get uncomfortable with is that idea of like, I don't want to be a mentor with mentees. I want to be someone who has like-minded people who are kind of co-generating things together. Yes, Ben, that's actually, I love that. I used to have this on a t-shirt before I wore the t-shirt out, but hero worship kills communities. And that's at the crux of all of it. I have a big, also Tatiana Mack, and she is near me. I should say hi to her. The at the bottom of all of it, right? The thing that I fear more than anything is becoming somehow separated from the community, right? And I think that is a really, it's a weird position to be in. And you can see it with some of the folks like just feeling like they can't participate in the community anymore because everything they say has so much weight that it gets dissected and used as a weapon and taken out of context. And so they feel like they can't really talk, because if they talk, it's taken as too serious. They can't joke. They can't, you can't like just make an offhanded comment. You have to deeply consider what it is that you're saying and what the impact of that is going to be. And so I find it a little, all of this getting around to the original point, I'm not opposed to the idea of a Learn with Jason Discord, but I am nervous about introducing spaces that are built around like me. So if it's built as a community thing, I'm super on board. If it's built as like a Jason platform, I feel weird. So I don't know how to do it yet. I haven't figured out how to do it in a way that doesn't feel like it could cross that line to like hero worship. And one of the reasons that I love this show is that it doesn't feel that way. That's very, we're not acting like there's a separation. I'm working with the community. Y'all are working with me. And that co-creation is a big part of that, which is Okay, full circle. We're back to this idea of participation and creating things together. So from my standpoint, the goal here should be co-authorship, co-ownership of what's being generated. So I find a community type Discord. Yeah, I mean, yes, I'm definitely open to the idea. We should maybe talk about this a little bit and see how that could potentially work. Because I have a Learn with Jason Discord, but I currently use it to coordinate like guests, and I work with Aiden, who manages a lot of the web properties, and I work with Chris, who does the editing and the highlight videos and stuff like that. So I use it in that way, but I haven't opened it up as like a general public thing. And so if there is a way that we could do that doesn't feel like it's centered around like me as a personality, then I would be very happy to create a community space. But yeah, let's talk about that, Chad. If you're into it, maybe, I don't know, send me a DM or hit me up on one of the other Discords that I'm in, and we can talk about it. Okay, so let's talk about what we're trying to accomplish today. So what we did last time on this is we built out a screen that is like a slide. And we did it kind of quick and dirty. We just centered some content, and the slide makes a claim: is a hot dog a sandwich? And then we have a second screen, which is buttons. How do you feel about what is on the slide right now? And one of them was like a yum face, like, yeah, hot dogs are a great sandwich. And one of them was an angry face, like, how dare you call a hot dog a sandwich? And what we're trying to build out is the ability for the slide that says, is a hot dog a sandwich, to reflect the input from the crowd. And so the way that we had done that is we had put a meter, and this is where we really fell into our rabbit hole, was having a meter or 2 meters, or, was it a select or whatever, that show it maybe starts in the middle. And then as people say they disagree, it moves to the left. And as people say, or let's see, left, camera left. And then if they agree, it starts to move to the right. And that puts us in a position where we have some form of feedback. Not the most in-depth version, but a good prototype, something that we can start with. So let's dive into, I don't know, let's find out. Let's go into, let's just go into the programming mode. All right. And from the programming mode, I'm going to pull over the homepage of the site here, and we'll start, like we always do, with a shout out to our live captioning. We have Ashley here with us today from White Coat Captioning, who is taking down all these words and making it more accessible to more people, which I very much appreciate. And that is made possible through the support of our sponsors, Netlify, NX, Backlight, and probably as of next week, New Relic, who we finally have everything lined up and we're ready to go. So we'll get that set up. And thank you very much to New Relic for coming on as another sponsor that really helps do all sorts of fun and ambitious things. And today you're dealing with me. Let's talk about what we actually built. So last time we were here, we were working on this real-time talks, and let's do just a bit of a code review. Let me get this up here. Make sure that we can actually see the whole screen. There it is. So what we built is we built 2 apps. We have the main talk, which is, I think I used Vite and just kind of generated a really simple React app. And that gives us our, let's see, we'll talk about what that is in a minute. And so we put together a slide that says hot dogs are my favorite sandwich. And then it has the hot dog emoji. And then we have the responses, and so how the audience is feeling. And then we got into our range element and what the current sentiment was, and it starts at 50, and then it'll drop if it's people are disagreeing, it'll raise if people are agreeing. And so if we run this, let's see, I am gonna have to look at how we set this up. So we're using NX here. NX is also one of the sponsors. And if I go in and look at how to run a package, because I always forget this, we want to run NX serve, and then I think we put the name of the package in. which would be main app. So let's run npm start. Let's see what happens if I just run npm start. And it runs nxserve and it goes to the main talk. Okay, so it just starts with our default thing. And then that'll bring us out to the localhost 4200. And we can look at this. So here is our default set. And what we want is for this to move back and forth. And, you know, there are a lot of things that we can do with this. I'm not going to try to style this anymore because I don't want to waste anyone's time. I want to get to the real-time part because we didn't get that last time. So we're going to leave this as good enough for now. And we're going to try to use our second screen to get this moving left and right. So to do that, what we ended up doing is we set up a Supabase database. And we're using that for authentication and for a handful of other things so that we can get our sign in. Somebody, oh wait, this is the wrong one. This is second screen. Let's get into the main app. The main app is going to pull in the insert, right? And now I did some of this wrong and John Myers was actually really, really helpful. So let's take a look at what he did to make this better. So this is John Myers. And he very kindly saw that I was having a little bit of an issue getting all the things I needed working on Supabase. And he put together a whole video on this, which was wonderful. And he also set up a thing. What's the thing I'm trying to say? He set up a pull request, and that pull request will let us do some really good things with Supabase, and I don't have to figure out how it works because John told me. So this is kind of like having a bonus guest. So I'm going to drop this into the chat. Let's go here. I forgot to drop a bunch of links. Here's John's Twitter. That's in there. And here is the homepage if you want to follow along with the live captions. And let's actually pull up the repo as well for anybody who wants to see it. This is the repo as it stands today. So you can go and take a look at what we've built so far. And I'm going to actually go back to the repo and let's look at this pull request because it's going to let us walk through what should have happened. So a couple things. The first thing is we target only the sentiment table. And I can go to Supabase and log in so we can look at our database as well. So here is Supabase, here is Realtime Talks, and we have our database, auth requests, all those things all working. And if I go and look at our table editor, we should have sentiment, and sentiment has a bunch of votes in it. Looks like when John was testing this, he was testing the he agrees on a sandwich. So that should give us some actual data we can work with. And if we look in here, that's this table. So what we're trying to do is get the, anytime someone inserts, which would be voting, you click the button, it's going to insert a thing. We want to be able to do something, but to start, we want to just make sure that we're getting that payload. And then because we don't want this to register multiple times and have multiple subscriptions running, anytime this component unmounts, we return this remove subscription so that the use effect will unmount it. So that's thing one. All right, we're going to mark that as viewed. Then let's go look at in the second screen. It looks like we've got cleanup to our auth, which is good. We don't get a user or session because we're using third-party providers. We have to get those separately. So that is why John removed these here. And then we can check if there's an error, we will log that error message. Otherwise, we don't really do anything at all. And then once we hit the use effect, we're going to load the user by using the Supabase auth object. And that comes in from the client that we create. We can look at that in a second. And when the auth state changes, we're going to set the user or set it to null. And I'm just going to assume that that's good enough. And then it looks like I forgot to include this dependency array as empty. So that would have meant that anytime you use this component at all, it would re-auth, which we didn't need. Then we are going to insert, and it looks like I was using an array. I didn't need to use an array. So we just drop in the one value. Good, good. And that will give us our thing. So I'm going to approve these changes. And submit. And let's squash and merge. Set up Supabase. All right, now there's another thing that I have to do, which is turn on replication. And in order to do that, I need to go and look at what, let's see, where did he tell me how to do this? He told me, let's see if I can remember. It was in here, database functions, log, explorer, reports, API settings. Was it in databases? Replication, yeah. And we're going to set up sentiment. Good. And now it's set up. So that should work. I think I could potentially turn off some of these, but I'm not gonna stress about it. And then if I go out here and I get pull, good, then I am going to just run again. Okay. Come back out here. Let's open up our console, make this a little bit bigger. And now what I want to do is let's take one on this side. And let's take this one on this side. And I want to add something to this database. Can I just, let's see, that's not going to work, is it? I'm going to have to make this bigger. So I'm going to insert a row, and we won't create an ID. We won't mess with that. And I'm just going to put in, just go with bad, and we'll view data. Oh, do I need to like get, I'm going to need to get a user ID. So actually, why don't I go out here and I'm just going to confirm. I'm just going to get a user ID out of here. Can I just click it? I would like to click this, please. There we go. And now I can come back out, insert, and we'll say bad, drop in a user ID, and save. Okay, and look. Aha! We got new data, and it says that we went value bad. So this is good because what this means is, well, I guess this is a bad. What this means is now whenever we get an update, we should be able to pull in one way or the other to just kind of show what the general sentiment is. Why does it call sign in twice? Good question. Can you clarify what you mean? Let me pull up our changes here. We're going to go to our second screen. We'll look at the source, and we're looking at the app specifically. So this one here, the sign in with GitHub, is what we want to run when you click the button, and that will actually like do the auth flow with GitHub. I should probably just start this and we'll try it out. But that starts the auth flow, and then when that comes back, we will reload the page. And what that does is it calls the, like, is this user logged in, and sets that user. And then whenever the auth state changes, so if you log out, which we haven't implemented that or anything, so we wouldn't really get it. But, you know, in the future, when we do implement that, this would update that. But we only call that sign in once, I think. It was probably the diff, and my diffs look weird because I use the enhanced like color blindness pattern, so you can see like my diffs are orange and blue instead of green and red. I don't have red-green color blindness, but I do find that this is easier for me to differentiate, and I just dig it. So that's why that's happening, and why you see the sign in happening multiple times. Yeah. So okay, we have we have the ability now to react to this. So let's do it a little bit. I'm going to try to do something here whenever let me get out of the second screen and into the app. So what I want is I want our initial state. How are we doing on time? Okay, we're like 25 minutes in. All right, we got some time. Let me see. Just a second here. Sorry, I gotta, 1 second. I gotta respond to this text. How professional is this? The least professional. Not until 11 a.m. Best 5 seconds of television I've ever made. Okay, sorry about that. Okay. So let's do. I want this to move. So we've got a default value, and we're gonna do a controlled component here. So I want the value to be set, and that value needs to be current sentiment. And I think the way that we will do this is we'll get rid of the default value. We'll set this value. And then up here, I'm going to set current sentiment and set current sentiment as a use state, which we'll pull in from React. And we'll default that to 50. So then what we can do is we can, let's see, the payload that we got hopefully is still here. It is. So we will get a payload that includes new and old. So I'm going to check if it's new, or we're going to check the new. So we'll do const value equals payload.new. Right, so then inside of that, we want to get the value. Oh no, what if we just do that? That seems. We'll just whatever. You know what? We're prototyping. It doesn't need to be perfect, right? So I'm going to get that value, and then we'll say if the value equals. Oh wait, we can do it this way. Let's do set current sentiment to current sentiment plus equals, and then is this too junky? This is junky. Don't do that. I don't, even in a prototype, never do that. Don't be like me. Be better than me. Let's do increment value, and that will be if the value is bad, we'll do -1, and if the value is good, we'll do a 1. And so we're going to do a value plus equals inc value. This should work, but just in case, I'm going to const new value equals, and then we'll drop this one in here, right? Cannot set what? Okay, yep, that's why. That makes sense. So we're going to do a plus. And so it's either plus -1 or +1, which will mean that it goes 50, whatever. And then the other thing we should probably do is just a quick check where we make sure it's within range. So we can do, this is going to be gross. Math min of 100 or math max, or no, it'll be math min of 0 in this value and math max of 100 in this value. Ta-da! And that should put us at a, it will be at minimum 0, at most 100. Inline setter function, I could definitely do that, but I think this will work. So we can refactor later if we wanted to. So let's maybe, React strict mode, rendering twice to make sure you don't, yep. That could definitely be part of the problem. I don't think it'll matter in this case, but let's run it. You provided a value prop without an on change. It is a yes. If the field should be mutable, I don't want it to be mutable. Or read only. Okay, so I can set it as read only. So let's set it as read only. And now it should stop yelling at me. Let's just try that one more time. Stop yelling. Good. Okay. So then what we can do, and basically what I'm assuming is that like anytime you switch to this slide, you would want a new setup, right? So this should be our 50, although that definitely doesn't look like a 50, does it? Kind of looks like a 40. Value 50 though. Oh, min is 10. Okay, that's what I did wrong. I got the let's set these back to what they should be because I was trying to get clever last time. So this is our 50 and we've got a min of 0, a max of 100. That's set in both places and we can now try. Let's just try to make this. Let's try to make this go down. So I'm going to set. Nope. Let me go off screen. I'm just going to hit my clipboard. No, come over here. Can I make this come? Yes, I can. Show the clipboard. All right, so here is going to be our user ID, and here's our value, and I'm going to say bad. And let's save. Okay, so it kind of did what we wanted, but it definitely didn't exactly work. So why did that cause it to completely give up on us and go to 0 instead? Oh, I know why. I did these backwards. The min and max should be the other way around because we want it to be like if 0 is greater than, then we want it to be 0. If 100 is less than, we want it to be 100. So I just got those backwards. So that should fix it. Let's go back out here and let's try again. All right, let's do this one more time. I'm going to insert, and here is here's bad, save. Okay, it got a little bit worse. One more time for just to double check. Go bad, user ID. Didn't do anything. So it did get both things, but our value is still set at 49, which means something didn't get set. If the value equals bad, we want the current sentiment plus the increment value. Did I mess something up? Inline setter will help. Yeah, that's fair. Fair. Oh, what's up, Brittany? Thank you for the raid. Hello. Let's see. I'm bad at code, so let's add some more. Let's add some more console logs because that is how I debug. So we're going to go with value. We're going to go with inc value. We'll go with new value. And let's find out what this thing says. Because the only thing I can think of is that this is somehow completely re-rendering, which would be weird, but it's not out of the question. So we're at 50, right? Now, as I add things, and hopefully, yep, I did. So we're going to do a bad. And it's 49 now. Okay, so if I add another one, we say bad. It should be 48, but it's not. So let's go to the console. So we got a bad, an inc value, and we messed a thingy up. So the function current sentiment is locked to first mount because of the bracket, but this subscription shouldn't be. Right? Like this. Oh, I see what you mean. Let's do that. Set current sentiment. I'm still a little confused by what. Try this one more time. Everybody bear with me. We're going to get this thing running. So we got this in here. We're going to do one of these. Going to do one of those. Do one of these. Huh? Okay. Current sentiment is 50. Now, what I think y'all are saying, and somebody's probably screaming this at the computer right now, is that I am resetting this whenever it runs. Okay. I get it. I get what happened. Let's see if I can explain what happened. So the subscription being set up here is only happening on the first render because we weren't passing this before. Now, what I'm unclear on is why. No, I still don't get it. I still don't get why that works. Oh, y'all. Okay, I do get it. So what was happening and what everybody's been saying is it resubscribes each time it changes, which is not what we want. What we actually want is for the set current sentiment to be here. So we want this to do it. This is why everybody was saying it. Okay, so let's walk through what just happened, because this is super confusing. If you are not, like, if this isn't clear to you what's happening, that's okay, because it's barely clear to me, and I've been doing this for 20 years. So because we weren't tracking this, which is actually probably the right idea, we only want to register the subscription once. What was happening here is this is a closure. So we were saying, when you register this component, create this function. Now this, at the time of the first mounting, is set to 50. At no point after we change this value are we changing this setting to something other than 50, right? So what's happening, because we're not re-registering our subscription on every mount, is we're basically saying use 50. We're hard coding it by putting this inside the closure. So if we go here instead and we say current val, and then we just move all of this in here, right? And we can do this however we want, but we're going to do it like this, and then we'll drop one of these. And that's it, right? So we'll get that out of there. And then we need to return the new value. That'll be how that actually works. And we're going to use current val instead of current sentiment. And now, see, it's not yelling at me because we're not using anything that would be stuck in the closure. And we'll get the current value of the sentiment every time it goes. Okay, so now we're setting up our closure correctly. We're using the set current sentiment. I'm doing this from memory, so this definitely might not work, but I think I'm in the right direction at least. So yes. That I guess we'll see. Let's try it out. So now, no, my clipboard. Need this one. And then we need bad. And let me copy paste this again so that we have it available. I'm going to save. And it worked. Okay, let me refresh the page because I think I might have just used a cached version of that. So did I save? I did save. And now,
holy buckets, did that just work?
Go bad, drop this in, and okay, new value is 49, current value is 50, and assuming I did this correctly, we will see that the current value is 49 now. Okay, all right, so that basically what we just did is we got all of that stuff put together. The closure is working correctly. And yeah, as the chat is saying, this is the pitfall of UseEffect, is that it is very smart, but you got to get your head around how this stuff works. And you need to have a good understanding of things like closures and what happens when you do that. But Now that we've got this running, we can move to the second part of what I want to do, which is getting the second screen working. So we can save this. I'm going to actually just commit this now. And we'll say get real-time sentiment update working. Okay, and I'll just push that in case anybody wants to look at it now. And again, that's all being pushed to this repo here, the real-time talks repo. So yeah. It's a sharp knife. That is, yeah, that is true, Matt. So we've got our presentation side is doing what we want. I probably should have tested that it went up when we did good, but you know what? I'm going to trust that I can do that kind of math at least. And now we want to get the second screen running. So let's go into our second screen, which I think I can do like this. And so what this is doing is under the hood, this is going to run the npx start or npx serve. And I'm using this to escape npm, and then I'm passing an argument to npx or to the nx that'll run the second screen command if I'm remembering correctly. And yeah, nx serve second screen. Okay, so now if I come out here and I reload, we have this ability here, and so I need to actually I might not need to do anything. I think John might have done this for us. Let me see. Apparently I'm logged in, so let's see if I click on this. Is it entering anything? Refresh. It is. Okay, let me click this like 3 times. Boom, boom, boom. All right, and then we're gonna refresh. And now there are a bunch of goods. Okay, so John just fixed this for us. It just works. So let's go and look at how that is functioning. So that's under second screen, and we've got our app, and let's take a peek at how this works. So inside here, we haven't styled anything. If we get, let's see, we got like 45 minutes left. So if we get this all the way running, then maybe I'll get it and style this. But otherwise, I'm gonna get this deployed so that y'all can play with the sentiment and we can watch it happen in real time. And I'm realizing that we should probably have some kind of a unique combination of say like the slide would have an ID. We'll make that a stretch goal. So the first thing that I need is the ability for the slide changing to update what the options are on the second screen. And then after that, we'll make sure that people can only vote once so that it's, you know, somebody can't just like set up a script and vote 1,000 times and that kind of stuff. But we can figure that part out later. Right now, what we've got is this Supabase auth. Let me clear the application cache so that we can see this login flow. I'm just gonna do all of it, I think. Storage, clear site data. And now if I come in, yeah, then I can sign in. It's gonna have me sign in to GitHub, and apparently I had already authorized this app, so it doesn't make me click the GitHub OAuth launch or the approval thing. But that brings me in, and now I'm logged in as me. So I'm using my own username. And if we look over here, like this is my user ID and this is John's, because he was doing the tests earlier. So this is what we're getting as like a kind of a unique ID. And that way I can say if I'm set up. Oh, that's a cool idea, Tony, to hook this back into the Twitch API and then do like an action like a stampede. There's some fun stuff that we could do, right? Like we could set triggers where if the sentiment drops below a certain thing, it like plays a sad trombone and I'm forced to move on to the next topic, right? Like, there's some really fun things that we could do to make this more interactive and stuff like that. But for now, let's see if we can just get this to run, which I think we can. And the way that I'm going to do that is, how do I want to do it? I want to see, we've got this part running and that's adding things. So now we just need to get both of these running together. So first and foremost, I think we can deploy it. So let's get this running on Netlify. And the way that I want to deploy it is if we look into the deployment, I think this will just work because we're going to build. So what happens when I do a build? I'm going to do npm run build. What was it called? Main talk. We've got main talk and we've got second screen. So let's build main talk. And it's doing a production build. And it apparently knows all the things that we need. So it ran that. And it did it in NX Cloud, which is kind of cool. So that means a lot of these resources are cached and stuff like that. So that it'll run. Actually, we can just see. Watch. Pew! Look how fast it goes that second time around. So that's really nice. And that means that everything got output to... Guess we got to look. Got output to... dist apps main talk. Okay, so good. Then that's great news, because what that means is I can then do one of these at least. No, here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to go to the app.netlify.com, and hopefully it's in mine. It is. And I'm going to create a new site. So I'm going to add a site, import an existing project from GitHub. Can you tell I always use the CLI for this? So let's get into our real-time talks. I have so many repos. Here we go. And then we're going to deploy our main branch. That's the one. Our base directory is set. And then our output directory, what we're actually going to use here, is the one that we found. It was dist apps main talk. So dist apps main talk. And I want to run the build on main talk, right? So a little bit of config here, but I'm feeling pretty okay with it. And I'm going to deploy. And I probably should have like named this or something, right? Whatever, I'll name it now. So we'll say real-time talks main screen. Okay, and then if we go back to the deploys, I actually think this will already be done. So here we go, close to done. And while we're waiting for that, I'm going to set up the other one, actually. So we're going to set up the second screen, and the way we'll do that, so go back out here, we'll go to sites, we're going to add a new site, import existing, go to GitHub, do the auth flow, come out here, search for real time, go through my 600 repositories. Let's get real-time talks. And for this one, we're going to do second screen, and that means that it's going to be in apps second screen. All right, so that is how we deploy multiple apps from the same NX monorepo. And I should clip that. That's actually like that's a question that we get a lot, is how to do that. So that little section of how we just did this. So let's go real-time talks second screen. Save that, and we go out to here. We've got the real-time talks main screen is deployed. So here's one, and I don't need the specific deploy. I just want the main one. So here's our main talk. All right, and then let's go back to the second screen and look at this one. And so this, I think, should all be working because we're using public keys, so it should all do what we want. And then here, we want the second screen. Here it comes, completed, building, and live, I think. There we go. Let me get back up to the top, and I'm going to click on our main app name here. Okay, so chat. At this point, you should be able to actually vote on this, right? So let's give it a try. I'm going to make this one way smaller, stick it over here. And I'm going to take this one and stick it over here. And let's log in. No, I got to fix my path. Okay, so that means that I need to go back to my GitHub app. Oh, is it this one or is it Supabase? I think it's Supabase. Let's go to, do I have another? Let's make this one out here. I'm going to go to authentication, settings, site URL, and I need to update this to be our actual site URL here. No, it's going to be second screen. That's the one. Okay, so now that I have that, used as an allow list, is it possible for me? Additional redirect URLs. Do I need to set a redirect in here somewhere? Feeling like I made a mistake. Okay, configuration settings. Do I need to fix this in the code itself? Where's my login? Let's go into the second screen. Source, app. And when we log in, we're not providing anything. So theoretically speaking, I think it just needs to be that default. So maybe for the sake of this, I'm just going to put this up here. And we will, if we need to, localhost 4200. I'm going to save. I'm going to come back out here. Go back here. Reload. Sign in. There we go. Okay, so now I have gotten these back. Oh no, they always increment. Did I spell something wrong? Value good. Oh yeah, we hard coded. So that's why that's happening. So then what we need to do is figure out, okay, well, okay, but so major hurdle here is overcome, which is that if y'all go to this real-time talks endpoint and log in, you can now affect this thing. Abernharv, yeah, I do have Strappy content. Let's go here. I will show you my favorite thing. So Sarah Diane built this thing out. If you come here and you hit Command K, or you can just click the search box, but Command K makes me feel like a freaking hacker. And then we can hit Strappy. We have a suite of content on Strappy. I don't know which of these uses Next.js, if any of them. That's a good question, but do have some Strappy content. Strappy is very cool. I would definitely recommend taking a look at it. It's very configurable. It's very fun to use, very flexible. Look, chat, are you voting? Make it move. I'm taking my hands off the screen. Make it move, chat. Click the button. Do the thing. Yeah. Look at it go. Okay, so this is great. Like we are now doing real-time interactivity, right? So let's go and fix this to where, actually this will be a good test. It won't go higher than 100. Is it throwing errors? Yeah. So this is great. It won't go higher than 100. So that's we, at least the basic math guards that we did after I broke them the first time work now. So next, what we want to do is not run this as a hard-coded value. So instead, we want to figure out which button was clicked. And to be completely honest, I don't know if this works because I haven't checked for that before. So let's find out, right? Let's see what happens if we do this. Because what we could do is we could do like a create vote and then pass in a value of good or bad, and kind of set these to be like on clicks. But I kind of like the idea of doing it on submit. But let's find out what the form data is. So we're going to say data, and we'll get a new form data out of event target, which is the submitted form. And then I want to, why don't you like, form data, and then we'll do a console.log of our form data. And I want to see if the button name comes through as part of our form data. So let's go back out here, and I'm going to npm start second screen. How are we doing on time? 35 minutes. Well, we're making a lot more progress this time. I guess it has something to do with me not just getting into the CSS. Okay, let's try this. So here we go. And now we get our form data. And that is prototype form data entries. Can I see? I'm going to have to get values or something, right? Let's get entries, and we will do, let's see, data equals form data dot entries to array. That's not going to work. Why don't you like this? Property entries does not exist. Yes, it does. Why? What? Why doesn't that exist? Form data is our entries. The name is entries. I'm just going to do a get all. Let's do a get all and see what happens. That also exists. Expects. What's the argument? Get all name. Boo. Okay, so let's see if I like name this. Bad. Name. Good. If somebody clicks it, let's go with good. I'm feeling like I'm overcomplicating this for the sake of trying to do something that's in my head instead of just doing a thing that would work. But if that ain't programming, what is? Let's try again. Good, bad, array 0, array 0. So both of these come back empty. So that's not going to do what I want. So I think what I need to do instead is a kind of, let's do this. We're going to function create good vote, and that will just do a event, do one of these, prevent default. And then inside of it, we're going to, we want to create vote good. And then we're going to change this to be value, which will be a string. And then I don't need to do any of this anymore. And instead, I can just set the value. Right? So then I can just kind of clean this up a bit. We're going to do all of those, do all of these. Now we've got the good vote, and let's create a bad vote. Okay. Do these need to be async? Probably not, but I'm going to do it anyways, just in case we want to wait on that. And then we'll get rid of our on submit, and instead we will do an on click, and it's going to be create good vote. What do you want? Promise void is not assignable to type. Oh, I need to do one of these. Okay. And then we'll do another one here that will be our bad vote. Now, theoretically speaking, this will do what we want. So let's see. And that should have created a bad vote. So let's go to our data sentiment. And that's a bad at 24. Maybe that's not working. Data. Bad. 623 at what time? 17:29:59. Oh, now I'm paginated is why. So bad at 17:29:59. Okay, so that's working. Let's try good. Good, refresh. Here's our good at 17:30:23. 17:30:23 should be what we see here. 17:30:23. Okay, so now we are actually creating our data. I'm gonna just skip the console logging to make less noise, and we're gonna do one of these. We could check for errors. Again, we're prototyping, we're trying to learn. We're not necessarily doing full-blown error management here, but let's do a git add all. And now we've got a git commit, and we're gonna say, what did we even change? Hold on, let's go to the diff. We got rid of some console logs. And okay, so let me actually unstage this, and this one we'll just say like a refactor, remove console logs, right? It doesn't actually change the behavior of the app. This one, however, we did a refactor, or we'll say a feature, get votes working without hard-coded value. Would you like to stage all of your changes and commit them directly? Yes, I would. Great. Okay, so now I can push. And what should happen is if I go back to my deploys, I'm going to go to here, and we should see both of these building. Look at them go. Okay, so this should clean up our stuff. And we could do things like ignore directories, where we would kind of short circuit the build if only one of them had changed. I'm not going to do that, mainly because I don't like that'll take enough research on my part that I don't remember exactly what it is. It's like a pretty quick thing to do, but it's like a thing you got to go look up, and that would burn through the rest of our time. So instead, what I'd like to do is validate that this is working the way that we expect by, let's restart here. I think that should be both of them. Are they both done? Builds, done and done. Okay, so reloading here. Reloading here. And now, good. Oh yeah, look at everybody going. Okay, everybody go good so we can see it go up. No, everybody's really mad about sandwiches. Here we go. Everybody's going good. Okay, everybody go bad. And okay, so now we've got sentiment is working, right? Like, oh, look at that. Our broken ranges worked. So that was a little bit of our styling attempt to try to make the show like what was happening, and it just wasn't quite doing what we were after. But look at it go. Yeah. All right, great. So so now we have the ability to do interactive stuff. The participants are now co-authoring the experience, right? And we can make some of this stuff more fun. And like, this is just one application, right? One way that we could use this is what we're doing here, sentiment. I put up a controversial statement, and people are either in favor of that or not. Is a hot dog a sandwich? You can vote yes or no. So live polling is kind of a fun way to do this sort of thing. Another way that we could do this is we could do something like a interactive element on the screen. I'm going to be telling my presentation, and I'm going to put something up on screen, and there will be a call and response. If you want to see this see this dance. Everybody who hits the button on the second screen is going to advance the animated GIF by 1 frame, right? And if everybody starts doing it, you get the dance, right? So there's some fun ways that you could make this playful. You could make the presentation something that you collaborate on, right? And I think that's really, really fun. Did the build wipe the database? It did not. And that's actually one of the reasons why what I would probably want to do is, well, I guess you could kind of decide how you want to do this, because one way that you could do this is you could just periodically wipe the database so that you don't have tons and tons and tons of rows. Another way you could do it is you could create a new instance for every time you gave the talk, and then you would have a set like the presentation that you gave at this event on this date. This is what the audience created together. And that would give you some really interesting things, because if you were to do more interactive than just live polling, you would actually be able to do something like co-creating. Everybody could say, pick, like everybody gets to pick one word, but you pick those words in sequence, and you would let the audience basically build out a sentence from a kind of a Mad Lib. And then you have a really fun thing where you've got like an audience generated Mad Lib. Of course, you'd have to assume that people are going to be jerks and maybe give them a dictionary to use, and they would choose a word instead of being able to freeform put in a word. But there's some really interesting stuff you could do where you would create one of a kind presentations. It's getting into the idea of like improv theater, where instead of me standing in front of you and reciting a talk that I have prepared and rehearsed, I am giving a set of parameters for a discussion, and then there's input that guides that discussion. Like, what if we use it as a choose your own adventure? Everybody has 15 seconds to vote, and whichever one of these pathways gets the most votes is what we're going to talk about today. And every slide could end in a, I want to hear more about the implementation, or I want to hear more about the use case. And then based on the votes, you would go one way or the other. That could be a really fun way to create these one of a kind experiences that you could give multiple times. Like, the format of improv enables you to do an improv show every night, but that show is different every time you see it, right? And that to me is really, really fun, and opens up some doors for collaboration with the audience that are unique. I can't imagine nobody's ever done this before, but I personally haven't seen it, at least not in our community. And so I would be really excited to see how different people could use technology like this to just mess around with these things. But yeah, I think this could be really, really, really fun. Should we try to do something else? Like, I'm thinking of like, what would my next steps be if I was going to try to productionize this? I think my next steps would be, how do we tie the slide to the votes? So we would need some kind of an ID that would, so like this would be slide 1, and then these would be the questions for slide 1. So you'd need some kind of a tie there. And then we would need a uniqueness, so that like each person, and maybe that's a setting, but like in general, I imagine I would want, each person gets to do one vote. If it was something like you push a button and it makes something move on the screen, then cool, whatever, unlimited uses. Just tap that button and make the person dance, or make the cartoon bounce, or the things drop. That could be really fun. But I think in general, you'd probably want like a one person, one vote kind of thing to make it more, just avoid that spamming problem, which the spamming problem is fun in certain cases. But like in this, if we're going for sentiment, one person shouldn't be able to dictate that, like, oh, we all hate this because I tapped this button 1,000 times. So yeah, this could be really fun. Yeah, Ben's talking about doing it as an on-demand voting screen. Like, that could be extremely cool. It's like a game show where you poll the audience. Absolutely, like, extremely cool. You could do things like what we're seeing right now. Everybody's playing with the grow command, and you can see that every time somebody runs the bang grow, the beard on this little animated Jason that Cassidy made on stream. We should find that. Where's the? Let's get Cassidy up here. We did a real-time Twitch game. This is the one. So here's where we actually built this growing thing. And yeah, you see, you made the beard long enough that it goes rainbow, right? Like, this type of stuff is just so much fun. There's so many cool things that you can do with this that it really opens a lot of doors for pretty boundless creativity. You know, you can make anything that you want to be possible is possible, because it's just a website. You can build anything you want on it. The only difference is that instead of clicking a button to trigger the thing, you are letting someone click a button on a different screen to trigger the thing. That to me is what makes this stuff so dang fun. Is I can tell you, I can show you a QR code that's like, hey, this presentation is interactive. Point your phone at this QR code, and it's going to take you to a website where you can interact with the presentation as it happens. And those to me are really, really fun things that give you a lot of opportunity to make things more engaging and make the things that you build more fun than they would be if it was just you on your own. So I'm really, really excited about that kind of thing. Wrap it around my blender smash burger. Yeah, I think this is just really, really fun. Yeah, shared audio player, like you could do. We sort of have this. I kind of want to play with it a little bit more, but like a soundboard for the stream, where right now people can play sound effects that are like clips from the show. There are some really fun things that you can do that with like just a soundboard. There's a game called Bwamp. If you have not seen Bwamp, it is it has this kind of fun, like, you can go and make noise. And this, to me, this is really, really fun, where we have the ability to just kind of like add this noise. And does this even play? No, so this isn't coming through for y'all. I got to figure out how to get desktop audio back in. But the really fun part here is that we have, we can give a soundboard, and whenever I say something inspirational, everybody does the oh. And if I say something that people don't like, they can all play the boo. You can do sad trombones and things like that. Like, this is really, really fun, I think. So yeah, do it as Dungeons and Dragons. I think that is also really fun. There's just like endless creativity available here. And I think that's maybe the part that I'm most excited about, is, again, because the goal of this stuff is not to be on stage as like I don't ever want to be somebody standing up saying, I have knowledge and you're here to access it, and you have nothing to offer me. I think instead it should be collaborative. I know some stuff, you know some stuff. I can point us in a direction, but then together, like today, y'all help me solve my use effect problem with the closures. And a lot of the ideas on this, actually every idea on this stream, is something collaborative. The overlays are almost all built off of an in-joke with the chat, with something that somebody actually built, with pull requests that were submitted to the scenes, with sound effects that people clipped. So much of this stream is a co-authored creation. This is a community creation. And I get credit for it because my face is on it. But really, if we think about what's happening, I am here as a facilitator for a group of people who do cool things. And the idea of trying to make that built into the experience through the chat interactions, through things like this, where we've got a presentation that's actually interactive. These are the sorts of things that really open up the door for community creation and collaborative creation. So that, I think, is really the goal and the crux of what we're getting after. The improv viewpoint is really, I mean, not everybody loves improv. Not everybody loves doing improv. And I guess I should also say, I mean no shade toward people who want to practice their talks, who want to be very deliberate about what they're presenting. There's so much value in that. This is all my perspective based on what I find fun, what I find valuable, and what I would do with my time given the choice to do whatever I want. And really where I land personally is I have more fun doing collaborative things. I find it very stressful to have a script that I have to stick to, because if I want to go off on a tangent, I don't want that to mean that I have to like go over time or something like that. I love being able to go off on tangents and dive into a rabbit hole, and somebody from the chat comes up with an idea and I can just like spin off and think about that for a while. That to me is so much fun. But I also know that what I do with going live every week without a plan and no script and no prep, that is a lot of people's worst nightmare. So I want to make sure that I'm not making any value judgments here. What I'm getting at is this idea that there are a lot of ways to create. There are a lot of ways to present. There are a lot of ways to share knowledge. I personally am a huge fan of collaborative ways of creating and sharing knowledge. So I like this idea because it tickles my particular set of fancies around how people should share and collaborate. That's fun for me, right? That's all it is. I just want to play with ideas and ways that we can, co-create and co-think. I guess that's what we're after, right? Yeah, Bobby Tables has this, he puts this a good way. It opens up more options. It doesn't limit other options. There are a million ways that you can do things, and hopefully it makes it 1,000,001 or 1,000,002. So I think there's not really much else I'm going to be able to do in the next 15 minutes. So let's call this one done. And what I'm going to do is I'm first and foremost going to do another shout out to our captioning. We've had Ashley here today from White Coat Captioning. Thank you very much. And that is made possible through the support of our sponsors, Netlify, NX, Backlight, and starting next week, New Relic. Thank you all very much for hanging out and for sponsoring the show. We've got a lot of good things coming up on the schedule. I am extremely excited. Next week, we're bringing back Sunil Pai, and we're going to talk about edge computing. If you are hearing the term edge and you're not 100% sure what it means or why it would benefit you, please come to this, because Sunil is one of the people I like the most as a thinker on what the future of the web could be. It is always a blast to talk to him. I have no idea if we'll even get to writing code. We might honestly just talk about what's possible, the future. Really, really excited to talk to Sunil. We are going to have Shem from the Wilco team come through and talk about how to level up as a developer through practice. This is going to be really fun, because one of the things that happens is when you're early in your career, you have a lot of different exercises and intro things and beginner things, and you're going to play and try. And then you get into a job and you get busy in the job, and you don't necessarily want to do a bunch of work outside of work. And so you kind of level up based on what your job provides for you. It's one code base, it's one approach, it's one architecture. What Wilco does is it kind of gives you the ability to dive into different architectures, different real world projects, to get a feel for what it might be like to work in different ways, and that'll help you stretch your brain as a developer. So it's like a flight simulator, they call it, and I think that's really cool. John Lindquist has been on the show in the past. We actually, the last time he was on the show, we were working on ScriptKit, but it wasn't called ScriptKit yet. He was working on this collection of like JavaScript that does local workflow automation. And since then it's matured a ton, and there's a lot of capability and promise here. So this is going to be like revisiting developer workflow automation that you can program, things we can build custom to improve the way that we work. We're going to get into automated accessibility testing with Storybook. Storybook is a cool way to work on your UIs. And there's a way for you to just kind of automatically flag, hey, you just wrote code that is not accessible. Like, don't try shipping that, just fix it real quick now, which helps you avoid that tech debt that's always kind of hard to justify going back and fixing later by never creating tech debt in the first place. It's wonderful. Motion one is animation in React. I think it's React. It might be just general JavaScript now. But Matt Perry's been on the show before talking about that, and we're going to look at how to build some really, really cool things using dev tools that make it easier to debug and export and manage that stuff. Sid Chatterjee is coming on to talk about Rust in the context of if you're a JavaScript developer. We've talked about this before with Chris Biscardi, with Prince Wilson, and now Sid is also working on Rust for JS devs. I think there's a lot of fun stuff going on in the Rust community. I find it very interesting. I wish I had more time to learn whole new programming languages, but Sid's got some solutions for us. And finally, we're bringing on Will Johnson to talk about Auth0 actions. This is going to be some serverless stuff, some drag and drop, a lot of like low code or no code solutions to improving your identity workflows. So a lot of good things coming up, a lot of fun. There's a little bit more on here that I haven't had a chance to put up yet. So please make sure you go add the show on Google Calendar, follow on Twitch, Follow on YouTube. I think we might be at we're getting pretty dang close to 30,000 subscribers on YouTube, which I find very. That's not me. What is this? The clever programmer stuff is actually cool too. But let's look at me. Learn with Jason. There's so many people to learn with. Me? Can't spell. And it's making noise that you can't hear, so I probably feel like I'm okay. 28,000 subscribers. So we're moving along here. Like we're getting a whole lot of stuff. But do I just throw the whole show unedited on YouTube? Yes. I mean, not completely unedited. We cut out the silent intro and the dead space at the end. But yeah, it's just the show, right? If you want to see 90 minutes of somebody pair programming, that's how it works. We've got so much good stuff on here. We're almost at 300 episodes. And here's to 300 more. There's also stuff that's not Learn with Jason. I did a series with Free Code Camp where we did like how to get into tech. I have got a bunch of my conference talks up here. So if you want to see more stuff, please subscribe on here and you'll get notified of the new ones. I think you gotta ring the bell, right? That's how you get them. That's enough about me, y'all. Let's call this one a win. I'm gonna go find somebody to raid. Thank you all so much for hanging out. It looks like does anybody have a suggestion on who we should raid? Who's live right now? Let's go look. Twitch.tv. Is it browse? That's not it. I'm gonna click this browse button though. And let's see who's live, and we'll look at JavaScript. Who's live doing JavaScript today? Primogen doesn't need help from us. Primogen's got plenty of people watching. Who needs a boost? Who should we go say hi to? Drop your ideas in the chat if you've got them. Martine Dowden, where's Martine? Let me just copy paste this. Martine. Let's do it. Let's go raid Martine. So y'all stay tuned. We're going to go raid Martine and we will see you all next time. Thanks, y'all.